KUAM News Headlines is presented by Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust, serving Micronesia since 1938. Matson and the Adahi Itano program. Cars Plus, drive home in a brand new 2021 Hyundai Palisade equipped with Guam's only lifetime powertrain limited warranty. Call 477-7807 or visit carsplusguam.com. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it, and King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Criminal detectives launch an investigation into a fatal shooting up in Dededo. Plus, DYA officially takes over running Child Protective Services, and public health ramps up efforts to get more island residents to join the vaccination.
Half a day and good evening. I'm Adriana Cotero. It's another incident that has left many on the island shocked. A fatal shooting investigation is underway, this time in the village of Dededo. An act of violence that turned deadly. The Guam Police Department responding Sunday evening to a shooting incident at a residence along Y Sang Song Road. According to a press release issued this morning by GPD, officers from the Dededo Precinct Command arrived on scene where a man was found with serious injuries. The victim was immediately taken to Guam Regional Medical City and was later pronounced deceased by attending physicians. The press release went on to say that GPD's Criminal Investigation Division was dispatched and was able to identify a person of interest. As of news time, CID detectives were conducting an interview with the individual. KUAM reached out to GPD spokesperson Sergeant Paul Tapao, who was unable to comment on the incident, stating that the investigation is ongoing. News of the shooting follows last week's horrific murder of Andrew Ray Castro in Santa Rita. His family started a GoFundMe account to help raise money to bring family home for his funeral. Andrew's brother, Jonathan Castro, was on the link this morning and says although they have reached their goal, the site is still open to accept additional donations to fund a foundation in his memory that will go to other victims of crime.
If they were in that situation that we are in right now, we can help donate all that money that we do get to whoever it is, because we do know how hard it is. We do know how hard it is, and the struggles to funeral cost, caskets, and all that, that plans and stuff like that. If it's not paid off, we understand, and that's one of the reasons why we're not shutting down the site, because we know that when we do get this, it's going to make a bigger impact than just my brother's death. Right. It's going to make a big impact on the community here in Guam.
Charged with the murder of Castro was 40-year-old Donovan Ornelas. He appeared in court last week. His bail was set at $1 million. His next court appearance is scheduled for February 1st. Trial resumes for murder defendant Joshua Palacios, with defense counsel Tom Fisher challenging the government's prime witness, Thomas Taitano's credibility. Taitano was a co-character in the homicide of Keith Castro, and after 4 days of being pressed with questions, he was finally excused from the witness stand. Defense counsel Tom Fisher draws attention to the mixed answers government witness Thomas Taitano has testified throughout the course of the trial while under oath.
At any point during this event, did you have a baton?
No, sir.
Sir, was there a time when you came to court and pled guilty to committing an aggravated assault on Keith Castro?
Yes, sir.
And as part of admitting that you had attacked Keith Castro, you said you struck him with a deadly weapon that is a baton, correct?
I pled guilty to those charges because I knew the government had a strong case against me, sir.
Mm-hmm. Now, you told the court, a judge, that you did in fact have a baton, correct?
Yes.
And that was a lie?
Yes.
Attorney Fisher's client Joshua Palacios is on trial for the fatal shooting of Keith Castro that occurred at a Jigo residence on July 28, 2019. Taitano entered a cooperation agreement and pled guilty to 1 count of aggravated assault with a special allegation for use of a deadly weapon in the commission of a felony attached, and 1 count of criminal mischief. The government witness was unable to recall numerous details and drew confusion on the stand, including the alleged crimes he committed during the time period he was at large.
For those 3 people who you assaulted with a deadly weapon, that is an automobile, do you think it was easy for them to forget it?
I don't think so, sir.
But for you, yes.
Sticking with the same line of questioning, Fisher repeatedly asked Taitano to detail the events leading up to Castro's death, the days leading up to his self-surrender. and when he eventually signed off on a sweet deal from the government.
Your testimony today is you don't recall what Matt told you, correct?
Yes.
Yet, what Matt told you caused you to go to Matt's house, correct?
Yes.
Why?
To ask Keith why was he talking about my family on social media.
What was he saying about your sister-in-law?
Called her a panty down, sir.
Anything else?
Panty down chemist.
Taitano testified that before he turned himself in, he, his sister-in-law Johnny Rosario, and Troy Torres met with public defender Stephen Hattori. Despite the defense's piercing questions, Taitano did not hesitate to name Palacios as the shooter. Taitano testified that early into his incarceration, he asked the government for a transfer from the Manilao prison to the Hagåtña detention facility for his safety, stating he was scared of Palacios. According to the agreement, he will be released from detainment by next week. Trial resumes tomorrow with government calling up homeowner of the Jigo residence, Matt Sablan, to testify. It was stated in court Sablan is currently incarcerated at the Department of Corrections, facing burglary of a motor vehicle and possession of a Schedule II controlled substance charges. It's unclear if the charges are related to the Castro homicide case. The government stated that they have granted Sablan immunity to testify in the ongoing trial. We should note Attorney Fisher informed the court that he has also subpoenaed Troy Torres, Johnny Rosario, George Taitano, Nicole Mantanotnia, and public defender Stephen Hattori. In Superior Court, Judge Vern Perez's courtroom, a jury of 12 finds David James Cruz guilty for the rape of a female minor known to him. The verdict was reached this morning, convicting Cruz with 4 counts of criminal sexual conduct for sexually abusing the minor for a 7-year time period. Assistant Attorney General Lenny Rapata successfully prosecuted the case. Trial concluded last week. According to KUAM archives, in 2019, the victim came forward reporting the abuse, which started when she was 12 years old. She testified early on into the trial, and it was stated in court today that she has since left off island. The court allowed the Cruz to remain on house arrest pending his sentencing, which has been set for April 12th. Department of Youth Affairs Director Melanie Brennan begins her assessment of what needs to be done to get Child Protective Services back on track. The governor late Friday declared CPS in a state of emergency, moving its operations out of public health's jurisdiction and over to DYA.
Priority number one is really referral management. Looking at the crisis intervention and ensuring that the referrals are acted upon, and we are following the mandate of the law, which is they must be investigated within 72 hours. That's very clear in the law.
Although today marks the first day for double duty for DYA Director Melanie Brennan, she's still working on getting a clear picture on just how backlogged CPS is in investigating referrals.
I only know that, in FY20, they received over 1,000 referrals. And so, of course, the referrals don't stop because of the pandemic. So how many they addressed, how many were vetted, I'm not quite sure.
According to the governor's declaration of a state of emergency at CPS, for too long, cases went unreviewed and too many children did not get the help they needed by actively investigating and addressing the issues at this critical agency. The governor stating, quote, "We are safeguarding our children from any further harm." Brennan says an estimated 30 employees work at CPS, but not all are investigators or social workers. She will, however, detail some of her employees to help with investigations of referrals. The Department of Youth Affairs Director, however, acknowledges the work of CPS employees, having been in their shoes in the past.
Clarification on all those issues. With regard to any backlog of referrals and referral management with CPS, I guess that's why they're sending DYA in. There have been issues with recruitment of CPS workers for as long as I can remember. Even when I was a CPS worker, the turnover rate is so high. The work is so hard on an individual. You bring that home, it's not just 8 to 5. You bring home that stuff with you at the end of the night. And it can be grueling and very upsetting. And so I understand the critical nature of CPS. I understand that they have been overwhelmed for years, and the pandemic just brought about other challenges.
Brennan, in the meantime, is also asking the community to come forward if they are willing to help foster children.
I know that Child Protective Services has always had trouble with placement. And so I want to put it out there that if anybody is interested in fostering a kid in need, please call 475-2653. We need more foster homes. We need more suitable placements for kids who are in crisis, for families who are in crisis.
So far, over 17,000 Guam residents have been vaccinated for COVID-19. And this week, Public Health will be expanding their vaccination clinic program. Tyler Matanani has details on today's events, as well as this week's clinic schedule and how you can join the vaccination.
Today's vaccination clinics could be described as one phrase: slowly but surely. Public Health was geared up with PPEs at Ukadu High and prepared to administer 500 to 600 doses of the round 1 of the Pfizer vaccine to phase 1C individuals. However, unlike most days, today was much slower than anticipated. In fact, only a little over 300 doses were administered at Ukadu High and 138 at the Southern Region Community Health Center. DPHSS PIO Janella Carrera.
The 60 and older category is a pretty large category. We still have our phase 1B essential workers as well. And so, it's slow right now, but we're hoping, through word of mouth and also with our media partners, we get more and more people that will come to our vaccination clinics.
One patient, Davina Alegria McNeil, was ready to get her first dose of Pfizer. It was her first time attending any of the vaccination clinics, and thankfully, the entire process took less than an hour. Like many others, she attested to the fact that the COVID vaccination was practically pain-free and encouraged others to join the fight in helping to immunize the island. The whole thing went smoothly. However, her one advice: wear vaccination-friendly clothing.
I've been waiting for this for a long time because, of course, like I said, I'm trying to protect myself and my family. I encourage everyone to come out and have the vaccine. The COVID.
Another patient prepared to get her first dose of Pfizer was Teresa Archangel. The nurse administering it was her husband, Leonel Archangel. With a last name like that, you could say she was definitely in good hands. However, Teresa jokes about how her husband may have other intentions.
I think it's my husband's revenge. Whenever he gives me shot, I'm more comfortable for him doing the shots because I know how he works. Done? Didn't even feel it. Yeah. No. He has a light hand. His hand is light.
Public Health is working on finding a way to narrow down the list of at least 2,000 of the island's elderly who are homebound and registered to receive the COVID vaccine. According to MCOG President and PD Mayor Jesse Allig, village mayors were given a January 8th deadline to submit their list of homebound residents, but only recently received the criteria and guidance that in order for these Manamku to get the shot at home, they must be bedridden and not just necessarily be wheelchair bound.
Difficulty here is that we've already sort of promised these residents vaccination, and now we have a criteria that we have to follow. And so I am asking Public Health to reconsider that. And so everyone that has been on that list since January 8th or up until January 21st really be considered for homebound vaccination, and everyone after that, we follow the criteria that Public Health set.
A meeting with mayors and Public Health is being held today to discuss options for those who are already registered as homebound. DPHSS spokesperson Janella Carrera.
We're even discussing the possibility of having some, maybe a mini pod, mini vaccination clinic, perhaps maybe at a senior center in one of the villages, where we can have some of the seniors get vaccinated there. That's something that we're going to try and see if we can discuss today, see if there's some logistics we can work out there.
Carrera adds that they are also looking at providing transportation. Several private clinics and local pharmacies have received the green light by Public Health to offer the Moderna vaccine. Those clinics include all 3 AMC locations: FHP, IHP, Rexall Drugs, the Tuman Medical Clinic, Health Service of the Pacific, Hagåtña Med Clinic, and the Guam Seventh-day Adventist Clinic. According to Public Health Chief Medical Officer Dr. Felix Cabrera, the vaccinations that are authorized are still for priority groups, such as essential workers, health professionals, those those 60 years of age and older, and educators.
Those particular clinics, if you're a member of that clinic, if you go there regularly, just call and you can inquire about what about getting the vaccine. But typically, what they're doing is that they're doing it for patients that are already scheduled for their routine health maintenance visits, like their annual exam, for example. And so then that's when they're administering it to them. And again, staying within the guidelines of what the eligibility criteria is as of today.
Pereira adds that although the vaccines are free, these private clinics may assess an administrative cost. Starting tomorrow, the new CDC guideline goes into effect, requiring a negative PCR test for all passengers entering the United States. The test must be done within 3 days prior to travel. According to the CDC guidance, aside from pre-arrival testing, another test is recommended 3 to 5 days after arrival with a 7-day home quarantine. Airlines are mandated to deny boarding of passengers if they do not provide documentation of their negative result or choose not to take a test. We've got an update on the second round of stimulus checks, and the debate is underway on whether to delay the implementation of another minimum wage increase. Those stories and more when Prime Time returns.
It makes myself and it makes my team members very proud to work for an organization that has been on island for many years with its focus on reliability, dependability, and commitment to the communities that they operate in.
Matson's a great corporate citizen to the community.
We all benefit from any sort of environmental commitment we make. One of the ways that we do that is with our Adahi Utano program. There's action behind it, and so action breeds commitment.
With the Kaimana Gila coming to Guam, this brings a new age and modernization to the island.
It's exciting for me because it's a brand new ship and we can carry more freight into the islands. It just shows growth for Guam and Micronesia.
Matson would be nothing without its customers, and we hope to continue to serve you for decades to come.
While we've all been through a lot over the years, typhoons, earthquakes, and now COVID-19, we've been able to get through these together.
For more than 80 years, Calvo's Insurance has been protecting your homes, your businesses,
And the health of your family.
We are here today and we'll be here tomorrow.
There are better days ahead. Tomorrow's a new day filled with hope and choices.
The possibilities of what we can achieve together are limitless.
Let's continue to work together to ensure a brighter tomorrow for all of us.
It's the brand new chicken dance song. Get down, heat it up like a sauna. Spin around one time if you want.
New chicken dance? New chicken sandwich. My juicy, thickest filet yet. My cluck sandwich combos. Only at Jack in the Box.
KUAM News, winner of the 2020 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Social Media.
Welcome back. If you're eligible for round 2 of federal stimulus checks, Revenue Tax Director Daphne Shimizu says they plan on getting payments out beginning at the end of this week. You should take note, though, that if you didn't file your 2019 tax returns or an extension by October 15th, you might not get a check, but rather a credit.
So what we're doing, and we have only until March 19th to finish paying all these out. And if a return is not validly filed and processed by that time, then it will not be included in this round. But because people can begin to file their returns on Feb 12, they will be able to get it's going to be called a rebate recovery credit. Prior to it being paid on a return, it's called an EIP. When it's paid off a return, it's called a rebate recovery credit. So if you don't get it as an EIP in advance of your return, it's possible for you to get it when you file your return. So even if people aren't able to get it because they haven't filed a return for 2019, then they should still be able to get it if they're eligible and file a 2020 return. And we're starting to receive tax forms, tax filings on Feb 12.
The U.S. Treasury and IRS approved Revenue Tax implementation plan of the stimulus program. DRT is anticipated to pay out about $108 million for the second round of EIPs. According to federal law, it's $600 payments for single filers, $1,200 for joint, and additional $600 for each dependent. Reverend Text Me, an office in Barrigada, officially reopened some of its branches for walk-in services today. The hours are from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. for Manamku, individuals with disabilities, and veterans, while 9 a.m. to noon is open to general public. You should take note, however, that Mondays through Wednesdays, DRT will not be providing vehicle registration services, and on Thursdays and Fridays, driver license services will not be offered. DRT warns that you should anticipate delays, so prepare accordingly, such as bringing an umbrella and snacks. Everyone is advised to wait in their cars until notified by staff that they are cleared to enter the building. A public hearing is underway at this hour on a bill to delay for 1 year the 50-cent rise in the minimum wage scheduled for March 1st. Sponsor Senator Jim Moylan says it's not the time to increase costs to businesses who've been hit hard by the pandemic.
We have a weak economy right now, and what Bill 2436 is asking to do is to allow these businesses to recoup. We know it's still going to be a struggle with tourism numbers. We don't know when those numbers will come back, and we know we need to diversify, and we've been able to diversify, but it's still going to take some time.
Moylan says he's received widespread support from business groups and individual companies, but supporters of the minimum wage increase have said a 50-cent rise isn't that much, and every penny counts for employees who are also struggling because of the high cost of living.
And it can be achieved, and if the employer wants to raise them up after opening their doors and things are back in a better condition, then certainly they can do that. I'm sure they would want to keep their best employees available and increase their wages, or maybe hire another employee too. They would have to balance that out at their establishments. They know the best, but this is not saying that the 50 cents won't be forthcoming. We're only asking that it be delayed just for 1 year.
With the 50-cent increase, the minimum wage for Guam would be $9.25 an hour. There may be an ongoing drug investigations at the port. Senator and former Port General Manager Joanne Brown raised the issue with PAG GM Roy Respicio during a port informational hearing today. She asked if the DEA or Customs were involved in any probes.
I appreciate your question, and I'm sure you can appreciate my situation where I can't discuss any active and ongoing investigations. But as I said,
but you could discuss this. At least you can elaborate. Have any type of inspections of that nature occurred?
Yeah, I will not respond to that, only for the fact that there are active investigations going on at the port. But as I mentioned, though, we are very accommodating.
Respicio also provided senators with the port's current finances and capital improvements. The January 20 inauguration of President Biden went off without incident, and most of the 25,000 troops were sent to Washington to provide security for the event are headed home. But a smaller contingent will remain in D.C., including a number of Guam soldiers. The chief of the National Guard Bureau wants to maintain a presence for upcoming events such as the Trump impeachment trial and the State of the Union address. Guard spokesman Captain Mark Scott.
So like we always do, Guam raised our hand and stepped up and said, yes, we will be a portion of that footprint that remains in DC for these upcoming events. We're looking at a few who want to stay, who are already there, and we're looking at a whole bunch more from here who want to go out and rotate the troops that are on the ground. Some of them have school and jobs to get back to, so there will be a rotation. We're still finalizing the numbers, but yes, we're looking at sending a force of about 25 into the middle of March.
The Guard will also be involved in the COVID vaccination effort this week at the UOG Calvo Fieldhouse. Their medics will be reassigned from hospital duty to help vaccinate our island's Manamku in what they're calling Operation Liberate Guam. Coming up, a look at the island weather. You're watching KUAM.
Your community calendar is brought to you by Taco Bell. Whether it's your first meal or your fourth meal, we've got you covered. Taco Bell, live Mas.
We get it. Living to the fullest is tough during COVID-19. You don't need to do it alone, and everyone needs a hand right now. We are here. Feeling overwhelmed? Call 647-8833 and let's talk. Mangagiham is a project of Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center.
So long, nacho fries.
Whenever Taco Bell takes them off the menu, he can't escape the cravings. Nacho fries.
Escape your cravings with our nacho fries box. Run to Taco Bell.
Guam is truly a majestic place with its sheer natural beauty, wealth of beaches, and culturally rich landscape. Unfortunately, Guam has a real problem with unwanted invasive species. Help us in preventing their introduction and spread. The coconut rhinoceros beetle, the little fire ant, the African snail, Siam weed. These are just a few of the numerous invasives on Guam. Follow proper custom procedures when bringing plants and animals into Guam.
Help protect Guam. Tell your family and friends about invasive species.
To report invasive species, call 475-PEST.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at this week's weather forecast. Here's Landon Aidlet from the National Weather Service.
Across Guam and all of the CNMI, and actually that dry weather extends across all of the region from the dateline across the Western Pacific to the Mariana Islands and then on towards the Philippines. The only moisture in the region is south of Yap State and generally south of Palau. So not much to speak of out there. However, before we go to the slides, I do want to pull up some model data, and I don't always like to show the numerical weather model output because that's for us meteorologists to decipher and sort out the gibberish and then put together the best forecast. This is looking ahead to next week, but what I want to show you, we have a couple of systems coming through. This is going to be what we call the shear line. That's our winter weather pattern for this time of the year. That's typically from December through March, sometimes into April. We have these cold fronts of these strong North Pacific storm systems coming off of Japan. That's generally moving from Japan eastward towards the States and Alaska, but they can extend these cold frontal boundaries into the mid latitudes, and then they lose their cold front characteristics and become what we call a shear line, an area of convergence, stronger winds, and they generate hazardous seas and surf. And these things can be narrow and they can set up over the islands and they can last anywhere from hours to a day or two. And it's tricky because these things can be very compact and narrow, and they could give a cloudy, rainy, breezy day for Guam, and then it's sunny and dry at Tinian and Saipan. And so that little boundary can be very tight and very narrow. It can cause a lot of wet weather for isolated locations or dry weather for other nearby locations. So we're gonna have one of these shear lines, it's gonna be more fragmented, drop over the Mariana Islands Tuesday into Wednesday. Not that bad, but then coming ahead towards the weekend, we do have another cold front passing to our north, and this one could have more of a substantial shear line coming over the Mariana Islands right there. So this is what we'll be watching for the weekend ahead. If this materializes, it could be wetter, cloudier, and windier late in the weekend. Looks like Sunday. Saturday looks like it won't be too bad, but Sunday could be the iffy if this trend holds together. So again, this is a long-range forecast model, and this is where we're looking at the possibility of coming this weekend. Is it going to be an all-day washout? It's too early to say, but this is just a model output and things change. That's why we put out our forecast twice a day as we get the latest forecast model information. So Jason, go ahead and pull up the slides and we'll talk about the week ahead. The headlines for today, not that bad. Moderate risk of rip currents along east and north facing reefs. This time of the year with the trade wind swell, we bounce between moderate and a high risk of rip currents along the east shores. That's going to be pretty much a permanent feature the next couple months as we go through the windy trade wind season. The Guam fire danger is moderate. We were at high last week, but that dropped down to moderate after the heavy rains we had on Thursday. Micronesia, there is a surf advisory.
Coming up, your birthday shoutouts from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club. Keep it here.
For the different beats of your life, we're here to keep you connected the way you want it. Plans made for you, by you. Build your own bundle with Link. Select the internet, entertainment, mobile, and home phone plans that fit your lifestyle. Pay for what you want, not for what you don't. Build your own bundle and save with Link.
For all those going out each day, doing what they can to hold us all together, we're here to help those helping us all by keeping our lights on.
And before we close out the news tonight, our latest round of birthday shoutouts from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club.
It's Monday, everybody, January the 25th, so join me in saying happy birthday to Damian J. Anthony Garcia. Happy birthday number 9. We love you so much and hope you had a blast on your birthday. With all the love in the world, Mommy and the entire family. Callie Marie Tyron Cruz, happy birthday to you. Love Auntie Jules and your family. Happy birthday number big 14 to Bonita Jade DeGracia Tyron. Happy birthday to you from Mommy and Daddy and the entire family. And we have a single belated birthday wish, Jael Liliana Joy Duenas, who is born on January the 22nd. Happy birthday to you from each and every one of your siblings.
Remember, you can be part of the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club by registering online on KUAM.com. Please make sure to include with your photo your name and birthday. That's going to do it for us here on Prime Time. Thank you for watching. Have a good night and be safe.